conference call line. Para toda la gente que entiende en español y quiere escuchar todo lo que dicen desde el escenario en español, vamos a tener una línea de conferencia donde puede llamar y vamos a estar interpretando simultáneamente todo lo que dicen desde aquí. Entonces el número es 515-603-5680. Otra vez, para toda la gente que entiende en español y quieren escuchar todo lo que dicen desde el escenario en español, el número es 515-603-5680. Y todos los voluntarios que tienen un chaleco rojo también tienen un volante que tiene el número allá. Entonces pueden buscar una de esas personas si no han captado el número. Muchísimas gracias. Thanks very much.
And a big shout out for our crew at United We Dream who are amongst the crowd as well. So why are we all here? Before we get started, I just want to break it down for you a little bit. Because Trump is a racist man. Yeah. Full stop. And unfortunately, last week, Congress gave him additional resources for the deportation force so that he could deport more people, so that more kids could be in cages and more families could be separated. Shame, 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 shame on Congress. But then he did not stop there. On Friday, he announced a national emergency to get more money for the deportation force and to build a wall. And that's why we're here, because we are coming to say together that there is no emergency. Is there an emergency? Is there an emergency? And we're coming together to say very clear that we will stop the deportation force and stop his racist wall. We are coming together because there are undocumented families like my own who live in fear every single day. And a father like Jorge from New York that just came out of detention after being traumatized in a detention camp for weeks away from his family. His children now are traumatized because they were separated from him. And that's what Congress did by giving him more resources. But I feel hope, brothers and sisters, because we are here together to say, no ban, no wall, no race. No ban, no wall, no race. No ban, no wall, no race. And we are here to demand Congress to stop Trump's because we'll see you in the streets and we'll hold you accountable. So with that, I am super energized to introduce my brother Eve from Wuhan.
All right. Thank you, Christina. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Y'all can do better than that. Good afternoon, everyone. That's what I'm saying. That's a 6 out of 10. I need a 10 out of 10. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, that's the first test you passed. Thank you. All right. I'm Reggie Hubbard. I work with Move On. I'm the Congressional Liaison, DC Strategist. That's my official title. I like to say I'm a bit of a ninja Jedi. I get into everything. So part activist, part operative, full-time troublemaker. Good trouble. Good trouble. We gather here today on these grounds across the street from the White House on President's Day in the midst of Black History Month. As someone who identifies as African American whose ancestors were slaves, it's an honor to stand before you in the spirit of social justice and speaking truth to power. All of my role models caused good trouble. Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Thurgood Marshall, Charles Houston, James Baldwin, Nina Simone, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, Martin Luther King, icons of the civil rights struggle. This struggle was predicated on the audacious belief that all people were created equal and due the same dignity and respect and access to opportunity regardless of their race, their creed, or the color of their skin. Who believes that? If you believe that, I need to hear yes. Thank you. And we're also here on President's Day, a day that was created to remember the birthday of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, widely considered two of our greatest presidents. It's also a cause for reflection on what we don't want as a president, right? You know, the president, as it's envisioned in the Constitution, is a custodian for our democracy. And a president is not a monarch, it is a servant of the people. This president clearly hasn't read the Constitution. He serves we the people, not his own interests. Who does he serve? Who does he serve? We the people. You know, I was a history major, so pardon me for going down this road, but sorry, not sorry. George Washington didn't even want to serve as president. He didn't want to do it. But he did so out of a service and obligation and duty. Abraham Lincoln rose from humble origins and became president in our most contentious and divisive time, ultimately giving his life to shepherd us toward a more perfect union after years of war. So it's only natural to consider that the current occupant of the White House and the legacy of the two men that I mentioned. So instead of seeking to bring the nation together like Abraham Lincoln, this gentleman and his administration only seeks to provide discord and create disunion and confusion through their incessant lies, hatred, and white supremacy. You know, there's a myth behind George Washington that he could never tell a lie. Well, the polar opposite, all this guy does is lie. And Abraham Lincoln, in his Gettysburg Address, which is considered one of the most consequential speeches of all of our presidents, was only 87 words, and it packed a whole lot of meaning and vision. If y'all seen the Twitter tirades of this gentleman, ain't no meaning and ain't no vision. This president has consistently shown his no regard for civil rights and the Constitution. He shut down this government for a month to strong-arm us into building this racist wall. And what does he have to show for it? He dropped points in the polls. That's all that matters to me. He was met with deft leadership by Nancy Pelosi and profound pressure from the grassroots. That's the same pressure that's here today. So I have a question. How many of you are angry? How many of you have had enough? One more elder in this city, Stanley Heyman, who famously said, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." Who else here is sick and tired of being sick and tired? We have plenty of reasons to feel this way, but I want to encourage you to consider two things. There are beautiful things that are happening in the midst of this craziness. And one positive thing can be said about this gentleman is that he's brought us together. And the other thing I want to urge you to consider is don't let your anger cause you to fatigue yourself and lose sight of our ultimate goal. Right. Slow and steady wins the race. We can't burn ourselves out. We got to stay on through 2020. So, it is my honor to stay here today and introduce other speakers of the movement. I, along with Christina, are your co-MCs for this journey. And in conclusion from my beginning, yesterday I saw a headline that made me smile. and the headline said that this national emergency, this fake national emergency, is splintering the Republican Party. I'll repeat that again. This fake national emergency is splintering the Republican Party. Is that good news? So, if the foundation is cracking, then we must continue to apply pressure and turn the heat of our rage and anger into a more sustainable slow burn. President Trump, we're not going to take this anymore. The same grassroots that fueled the defeat of the House Republican majority is coming for your job. Not only are we coming for your job, we're going to take back the Senate in the process and make your disastrous administration a one-term blunder. And with that, I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Beavers from Indivisible, my sister, to the stage.
We have to stop meeting like this. You know, I'm actually really surprised to see so many people out in the middle of this emergency. How's everyone holding up during this emergency? Goodness. Well, you know, I have to say, it's the first emergency I've ever heard of that you can plan for 3 weeks in advance. It's the first one I've ever heard of that someone who called the emergency can immediately leave to go golfing. It's the first one I've ever heard of where I saw a picture of the person who ordered this emergency also casually ordering eggs at his golf resort the next day. You know, I'm starting to think we're not in the middle of an emergency after all. Although, I say that, but I think we actually do have quite an emergency, and I think it lives over here. Donald Trump is the national security crisis. He is the national security emergency. At Indivisible, we've been keeping a list of all the ways Donald Trump is not only not doing a great job, shall we say, but actively making us less safe. We call it the Trump threat level. The Trump threat level rose just a little bit a few days ago, but it's been steadily rising for the last couple of years, and we're ready to take that completely and to actually found a security based in human rights, based in peace, based in our constitutional rights, based in equity, and we can't do that while Donald Trump is in office. So look, go to trumpthreatlevel.indivisible.org for all the ways that Trump is making us less safe. It's actually pretty astounding and depressing when you see it lined up like that, but there is good news, which is that Trump is nothing without enablers, right? Without a cabinet that will do his bidding, without a Congress that will do his bidding, without a Mitch McConnell that will do his bidding. So the great news is, yes, there are courts, yes, there are lawsuits. Several of the folks that I'm privileged to be here with today have already gone to court to sue this man, Donald Trump, for the crisis that he has brought to this country. But we cannot wait and let the courts save us or assume that they will. The courts didn't save us on the Muslim ban. The courts are not going to save us anymore now that Trump has installed Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and many others in lower courts, extreme conservative judges that will not uphold our best rights. So guess what? Congress has a role to play here, and Congress works for us.
Yes!
I have to point out a piece of reality that I don't like very much, which is that for a really long time, Democrats and Republicans in Congress have gotten a little too comfortable letting presidents do things in the name of national security without stepping up and asserting their power, their privilege to rein that in and to dial that back in. Well, guess what? Here's their big chance. There is a specific provision of the National Emergencies Act that lets Congress terminate an emergency. They can make it go away, wipe it out. Congress has never done that. They've never done that. We've seen what can happen when Congress doesn't step in and lets presidents go in the name of national security. There was torture after 9/11. There was internment of Japanese Americans. There were so many things in the name of national security. We are not going to sit idly by, and we demand that Congress not sit idly by while a racist, xenophobic, unnecessary wall and deportation forces put forward in the name of our security. We reject that completely, and we demand Congress to do the same. So thank you all for being here. We call on Congress pass that resolution in this emergency, and I'll see you all at the next protest. Bye.
I say emergency, you say fake. Emergency! 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 That's right. So now, let's welcome Manawa Eid with the ACLU.
Thank you, ACLU. Hi, everybody.
will be suing the Trump administration on this order. So as all of you know, on Friday, after months of threats, President Trump declared a national emergency in order to spend billions of taxpayer dollars on his border wall obsession. A few things here are clear. One, as we have heard already today, there is no national emergency.
Exactly.
Members of Congress have said it, security experts have said it, the American people, in particular, the people living at the border, have said it, and even Trump himself has said that there is no emergency. Number two, the Constitution gives Congress the power to spend federal funds. Based on law, the president has limited power to spend those funds without congressional approval. Guess when? In a national emergency. And here I direct you back to my first point, there is no national emergency. And number three, this is unconstitutional. Just 3 weeks ago, President Trump said if Congress didn't give him what he wanted, he would declare a national emergency. And that's what he did last week. And again, there is no national emergency. Trump has manufactured a crisis through his attacks on asylum seekers, people who are seeking refuge as laws in the United States allow them to. Border communities are among the safest in America, but because Trump disagreed with Congress's deal and the money they allocated for his border wall, he then declared a national emergency, and there is no national emergency. Trump's action is illegal and it is really dangerous. It strikes at the heart of our democracy and our systems of checks and balances. It is unconstitutional and we will see him in court. But the courts are not the only place for action. We will take to the courts, we will take to Congress, and clearly we will take to the streets, as people are doing all over the country today. The people have spoken and we will not let this stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Manar. Before introducing our next guest, I want to give a special shout out to key partners ACLU, Credo, Indivisible Win Without War, and the over 115 national co-sponsors, including Raices, Daily Coast, America's Voice, Peace Action, Families Belong Together, which was the last time I was here, Working Families Party, Sierra Club, Ultraviolet, Need to Impeach, Common Cause, Next Gen America, Moms Rising, Muslim Advocates, AFT, Ask Me, Resist Bot, Raised Forward, to name a few. Allow me to introduce now, from the Truman National Security Project, Bishop Garrison.
Good afternoon. My name is Bishop Garrison. I am the Interim Executive Director of the Truman National Security Project. I am also a West Point graduate, a former Army officer, an Iraq War veteran, and a former appointee in the Obama administration at DOD, DHS, and Veteran Affairs. I'm here to tell you something you probably already heard a few times today, that the wall cannot be justified in the name of national security. There is no national security crisis at our border. The overwhelming majority of people coming to our country through Mexico are fleeing extreme violence and looking only for opportunity and safety for their children. This White House has continuously tried to portray them as a national security threat, which is xenophobic, which is racist, which is wrong. It also promises that the wall will fix problems it cannot affect, from gang violence to drug trafficking. The only crisis we have is a moral one, wrought by this administration's shameful and draconian policies. Everything they do, from refusing refugees to detaining children and denying asylum claims to killing DACA, does nothing to make us safer. Now the president has claimed a national emergency in order to build his wall.
community. So
It says the signature Trump move is wasteful, ineffective, and is meant to gratify his ego.
we need to stand by them.
This is a wall that neither Mexico nor Congress want to pay for, that the American people do not want, and that will not make our nation any more secure. He even tried to hold federal workers, contractors, and services hostage in exchange for this vanity project. But this strategy has failed. So now our president is unilaterally seizing money for his demands, and this is outrageous. Let me be clear. The declaration is a massive abuse of presidential power for political gain. Democrats and Republicans in Congress must act.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've
I've
been...
been meaning to get in touch with you so he could come speak to our youth.
Yeah. Oh, they're taking a picture.
They must revoke this fraudulent declaration via a vote under the National Emergencies Act and consider taking legal action against the president himself.
Yes!
I've already heard this part before, but I'm going to say it again. This is about 400 years of atrocity. This is about 50 years of a civil rights fight. This is about the land of Native Americans. This is about women's suffrage. This is about the fight for the LGBTQ community. This president does not get to invent crisis. Take money
Nathan,
that he
why
was
did
not
you
ready
approach
for.
the high school Catholic kids? Whoa.
What organization are you
From
with?
families,
Breitbart, sir.
from
Okay, what are you
military
doing here? Why are you
assault
doing?
me?
He didn't assault you. He didn't touch you. You got in his
Did not
face.
do this and then jet off to the beach
got
on the
Breitbart
American
here?
taxpayers' dime.
How you guys doing?
We're doing great. How are you?
What's your name?
And
My name is
only by
Purdy.
continuing
Purdy?
to raise our
Yeah.
voices
Okay, cool. What's your last
together
name?
as a people,
All right.
can we make
See you
it
later.
right? Thank you, ladies and
So you're
gentlemen.
just gonna follow me around now?
What?
after you did that?
What are you? You're following me.
All right, let's see about that.
We're gonna do one quick chant before our next speaker. You all know this one because I've seen many of your faces. When we were hit with the Muslim ban, when children were being separated, when Trump ordered an executive order to declare every single undocumented in this person in this country an enemy of the state. So you know this one. Let's go.
Zenny?
No fear.
No hate! Oh, my bad.
Did you see that?
No hate.
No
No
hate!
fear. Immigrants are welcome here. No hate. No 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 fear.
Tell him that.
Immigrants are welcome here. No hate. No fear.
He actually.
Immigrants are welcome here. No fear. Immigrants are welcome here.
This Congress, and I know I'm not going to rely on a single Republican to do the right thing, because have they done it once so far? But we have to get Democrats to stand up and oppose this wall. Pass legislation restricting his ability
really
to do
aggressive
this.
with people.
Stop him. Each and every one of us can do what we can to stop him and then organize to defeat him so we never see this gaslighting of America again. Thank you.
Okay, but just, I will tell him not to do that, and I'm asking you to stay far.
I'll move away, as long as he doesn't push people.
Thank you, Nira, for your real talk. Appreciate that. And since this is a protest, but this is also a community gathering, and this is about organizing, do me a favor. If there's someone next to you that you do not know, introduce yourself, say hello, because we are one community. We're here together. We're not a bunch of individuals here on our own. We're here together to show this kind of this ain't it. And if you feel it, say hello to one more person. Just talk, say hello to everybody. I don't really care. But make a connection. We make progress when we make connection. We don't do this alone. We do this together. United will never be defeated. People united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Round of applause for yourselves. And it's my pleasure to introduce the stage now for the people of the American Way, my brother Yellow Brooks.
Here we are once again, standing in front of that building during this administration to call out another atrocity. Let's call it what it is, an atrocity, a farce. It's make-believe. This president made a campaign promise that he would build a wall. 2 years under a Republican administration, a Republican House, a Republican Senate, he couldn't build a wall. He shut down the government.
17,000 miles.
He shut down the government.
3,000 bricks a day.
Impacting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Americans' lives. My family. Because he wanted a wall. Because he was scared he couldn't keep his campaign promise. That's right. This president has thin skin. He doesn't know how to do what's right. He doesn't believe in democracy. He hangs out with dictators. So he believes he can bring that philosophy to America. That's right. To our government. We got to remind that president we are the people. We don't stand out here because we don't have anything else to do. We don't stand out here because we want to stand in the middle of a park, or for some of us, a day off, to just hang out and talk bad about this president. We stand up because we will fight for democracy at every turn, at every corner, every opportunity we have. This wall is a shame. This fake emergency is a shame. And this president will lie. He will kowtow to the extreme right wing. He will kowtow to the hatred and bigotry of demonizing immigrants. We are a nation of immigrants. We are stronger because of immigrants. And we cannot lie about immigrant brothers and sisters to build a fake wall. A supposedly beautiful wall. Who's ever heard of a beautiful wall? We have been working throughout history to tear down walls, to build bridges, to bring communities together. And we will not stand quietly on the sideline and let this bigoted president, this bigoted administration, continue to do things that harm our people. justice for everyone, no matter what you look like or where you come from. We will fight, and we will stand up, and we will make our voices heard. Thank you.
All right, up next, let's welcome Arlet Morales from Casa de Maryland and Ana Maria Chila from the Center for Popular Democracy.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with Casa, and I've been a member with Casa for about 3 years. My name is Arlet Morales, and I am 16 years old. My parents brought me into the United States from Mexico with nothing in their pockets but hope. I've been living in the United States my whole life. I know the language, I know the culture. The United States is my home. I have dreams and I have passions, but unfortunately, on September 5th of 2017, DACA was shut down just 2 weeks before I would turn 15, and I would be able to qualify. I know I'm not the only one who has to go through this fear of being deported. The feeling of being denied, of not being eligible for opportunities, every day with the fear of what if. We are here to work. We are here for a better life, to succeed, to become somebody, to make a difference. And I know, parents, you have sacrificed it all for your children, for a better future for them to have the opportunities and to have the things that you never had. They all work hard, they put a roof over our head, and they always provide a meal for us. We all work hard to have a better life. This is the reality for all of the immigrant families. The wall is not intended to stop drugs or ban hombres. The wall is intended to stop hard-working families like mine that come to this country for a better and for a safer life. Emergency is not at the border. It is in York, PA, and all of the communities around the country, where students like me wonder, what if mom and dad won't come home today? The emergency is here in D.C., where our democracy is under attack. In high school government class, we learned about 3 branches of government. So even if I'm not born here and I am only 16 years old, it is pretty clear to me that the president is not respecting the basic principles of our country and of our democracy was founded on. So I am here to urge our elected leaders in Congress to make sure we maintain the balance of the power set by our Constitution and that speaks against President Trump's gross outrage, just like we are doing here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlet. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Ana Maria Chila, and I am here so honored to be standing next to Arlet, and I want us to remind her that we heard her. So repeat after me. Arlet, this country is your home. Arlet, this country is your home. Arlet, you are here to stay. Arlet, your family is my family. Arlet, this country is our home. The president wants us to forget that this country is ours, that this democracy is ours, that he works for us. The president wants us to forget that what is true about this country is that our history is a history of struggle for more of us to be included in the promise of democracy and freedom. That is what the heart of this country is about. But we have someone in the White House who has no respect for democracy, no understanding of our history, no sense of what struggle actually does for people. He has no respect for our Constitution. He has no respect for Congress. He has no respect for all of us. What he does every time he takes the microphone is feed us a constant dose of hate and fear to dissuade people from joining in community, for joining together to imagine that we can actually become this more perfect union that we're constantly trying to where women lead alongside others. What is possible is a country where all of us can live without the fear of being separated from our families. What is possible is a country where all of us can have health care, where all of us can have education, where all of us can have dignified jobs, where we don't destroy the planet. What is possible is a country that belongs to all of us. And he will go to great extents to make us forget what is possible. He will unleash ICE and Border Patrol on immigrants along the border. He will put children in cages. He will tear children apart from their families. He will stop programs like DACA and TPS for millions of people to find safety. He will force Brett Kavanaugh, someone accused of sexual assault, on all of us and install him in the Supreme Court. He did that. And he will declare a fake national emergency. He will encourage violence at his rallies. He will tell people that the press is our enemy. He will steal money that we desperately need to build the country of our dreams so that he can build a monument to racism along the border. He will do anything to resist the country that is already here. A country that is your home, a country that is my home, a country that belongs to all of us. So this is the thing. He cannot do that if we don't let him. That's right. And he cannot do that if the Congress does not let him do it. That's right. So today, we are here to remind the members of Congress that there was an election in November. That's right. That we elected many new people, 100+ women in Congress, to put a stop to his racist, hateful agenda, to put a stop to his force feeding of hate and fear. So we want them to use their powers to not only stop this national emergency, but we want them to use their powers to stop funding his deportation force that is instilling so much terror in all of our communities. So repeat after me: no wall, no wall, no fear, no fear. This country is our home. This country is our home. No wall, no wall, no fear, no fear. This country is our home. This country is our home. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede.
Thank you all very much. Round of applause for them. Y'all can do better than that. Round of applause for them. Thank you. A few more housekeeping items. For those of you watching on live stream and here, take out your phones and text the following: crisis. So crisis, text to 668-366. And that's to sign up for Move On stuff, right? So crisis to 668-366. Last time, crisis to 668-366. And Anna said something about building one more racist monument. We don't need any more racist monuments in the United States of America. We've got plenty. So the last thing we need is this fake wall for this racist president. Like I said, it's Black History Month, and I'm Southern, so we're going to speak truth to power. We don't need no more racist monuments in the United States of America. Can I get a witness? Thank y'all for that. I knew I wasn't alone on that. Thank you. And also shout out to Ayanna Presley, Maxine Waters, and Rashida Tlaib, who are speaking at events around the country. Ayanna's in Massachusetts. Auntie Maxine is in LA later today. And Rashida will be in Michigan. Allow me to also introduce to the stage next, Max Sokol.
Hello, thank you for being here. My name is Max Sokol. I'm the Senior National Organizer at Bend the Arc Jewish Action. We are a progressive Jewish movement representing more than 150,000 members nationwide with local chapters and affiliate organizations in 17 states. American Jewish identity is complex and it defies all stereotypes. American Jews are black, white, indigenous and Latinx, queer and straight, rich and poor, documented and undocumented, abled and disabled. And within that complexity, many of us, and here I include myself, carry within the living memories of our families the heavy price that we have paid when violent men seized power and collapsed their governments into total xenophobia and so-called emergency control. That's right. When Ben the Ark launched our campaign to stop Trump in 2016, we called it "We've Seen This Before." That's right. Although the president's anti-Semitism was obvious at that time, I, like so many of you, was most motivated to be part of our resistance movement because of the pain and suffering he promised to inflict on our most vulnerable loved ones. Right. Immigrants, Muslims, queer and trans people, people of color. For the past 3 years, I have traveled the country supporting and training progressive Jewish leaders to fight against deportations in their communities, to fight for voting rights, to fight for the health care that we all need, to fight back. But it has also been a sad and solemn aspect of my work to be with Jewish communities where blood has been shed due to the president's incitement. I was in Charlottesville last summer, watching a congregational elder fail to deliver his full Saturday sermon because he broke down weeping as he reflected on his inability to recognize his own country. I was here in this very park, joining my body with the movement for Black Lives and anti-racists of all backgrounds to protect my city against the neo-Nazis that the president thinks are very fine people. Most recently, in the days immediately following the murder of 11 innocent Jewish people at prayer, I flew to Pittsburgh. It was a community that I had already grown to know and love because we had been organizing together since 2016 to demand humane immigration policy. Several members of the Pittsburgh Ben the Ark chapter had even gone to jail here in D.C. with me in our fight for the DREAM Act. I would like to tell you about what I saw while I was there in Pittsburgh because I think that there is a lesson in it for those of us who are here today. I witnessed an upwelling of community support, the like of which I had never before seen. When we put out the call in the form of a letter denouncing the president and demanding that he not visit Squirrel Hill, not just Jewish people, but the entire neighborhood of Squirrel Hill took to the streets at our request. Jewish people who were terrified and traumatized, who had hidden in their homes as they heard the shots ringing out just days before, stepped with tears in their eyes to the front of a mass of 5,000 of their neighbors and friends, all of whom dropped everything to show solidarity. Together, we marched on the president's motorcade. We told him he wasn't welcome in Squirrel Hill. That's right. Thank you. Yeah. And in a moment that I will never forget, as long as I live, he turned around and left. He was unable to match the power of an entire city arrayed against him. And so it was that at one of the very lowest moments of my life, I suddenly glimpsed liberation. Solidarity is a beautiful thing. It is a powerful thing. The president's fake emergency, like all the rest of his agenda, is meant to stir up fear and suspicion, but American Jews are not fooled. Our safety is in solidarity. And for a loving movement like ours, solidarity will never be in short supply. With that in mind, I would like to conclude by asking you to turn to your neighbor, someone standing next to you. And I really am looking at you, so please turn to someone. It's okay if you don't know them. Just meet their eyes for a moment. You were looking at a person who feels as you do. Someone who came here today to show that they are ready to take risks for their neighbors, their family members, maybe their own life. They are ready to show solidarity. And now, if you can repeat after me, you can speak the same words to them that we all sang as we marched through the streets of Pittsburgh. Olam Chesed, Yibaneh. We will build this world with love. We will build this world with love because solidarity must be about more than finding each other in our moments of greatest need. Solidarity is about building a future for all of us. And we will build this world with love because more than any other force in this world, the love that comes from solidarity is the opposite of authoritarianism. Let us all try to embody that opposite. Thank you.
And it is that solidarity, brothers and sisters, that has gotten all of us here today and over 30,000 people on President's Day taking action together. Are you all proud of that? And as our brother was saying, we know that the same people that are going after immigrant communities wanting to deport us all are the same people that are against women's rights. They're the same people that don't want to let workers unionize. They're the same people that want more people of color in prisons. They're the same people that are attacking Native American communities and LGBTQ communities. And we see underneath their BS. We see it. And we are here together taking action, not only resisting, but because we're pushing forward for a vision of a country that is built for all of us. All of us. All of us are as our full authentic selves, as women, as LGBT, black, brown, women, men. We're in it together. And that's why in my spirit, I believe that we will win. Do you believe that we will win? Do you believe that we will win? I believe it. I believe it in my heart and soul that we will win. And so with that, I want to give a shout out to all of the partners that in less than 2 days have mobilized thousands of people with us. ACLU, Credo, Move On, Win Without Word, Daily Coast, Families Belong Together, Working Families Party, America's Voice, AFSCME, Race Forward. All of us have come together because we know that we are in it together, and together we will win. So now let's welcome Patrick Carolan, Executive Director of the Franciscan Action Network.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Carolan. I'm the Executive Director of the Franciscan Action Network and co-founder of the Faithful Democracy Coalition. As others have said, we're here to reclaim our democracy. We know that the so-called national emergency was created on a false premise. We know that the crisis is a crisis created by Trump. But it is not just wrong from a political, constitutional perspective. It is morally, ethically, and spiritually wrong. It is based on a lie. I'm a Franciscan and a Christian, and my faith teachings, as in the faith teachings of my sisters and my brothers from the Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, and every other faith tradition, teaches that actions that start with a lie are morally wrong. The lie that these actions have started on is the lie and the sin of racism. The racism that has been part of our nation, that our nation has been built on. My parents are immigrants. They came to America in 1950 from Ireland. They had no money, no education, no job skills. As my mother would tell her story, they got off the boat with one baby in her arms and another in her belly. They came to America with a dream. They did not have to wait 10 or 15 years to get a permit to enter. They just came. The system was set up so they could get a green card and become citizens. They went on to raise 6 children and 19 grandchildren who wrote books, served in the Army, in the Peace Corps, got PhDs, and even speak here today. The only difference between my parents and the parents coming today from Central America is that my parents were white, so they were welcomed. But my brothers and my sisters trying to seek a better life today are people of color. So Trump and other leaders seek to demonize, dehumanize them, and then want to build a wall to keep them out. I wonder what would happen if there was a major catastrophe in Canada and folks started coming across the border. I wonder if Trump and his cronies would be calling for a wall to be built there. The lie, the sin, is how deeply ingrained racism is in every aspect of our culture. One of my daughters got married this past September. She's black. She married a white man. They live in South Carolina. Do you know that 20 years ago in South Carolina, interracial marriage was against the law? 20 years ago. That's not that long ago. When they had the referendum to overturn the law, almost 35% of the people voted against it. 35% of the people in South Carolina believe that a black person and a white person should not be allowed to be married. They believe that they would, if that vote were held today, I think they would still vote to make interracial marriage illegal. Yet our leaders pretend that racism is about just a small group of people. And the media continue to ignore how deeply ingrained racism is with every single issue that we experience in this country. How come no one in the media has ever asked Lindsey Graham why about 30% of his supporters believe that interracial marriage should be illegal? How come they've never asked him why he won't challenge those racists in South Carolina? How come if I were running for office, if I were an elected official, and I found out that 30% of my supporters were racist and thought that interracial marriage was illegal, I would really reconsider my views and reconsider what I'm out preaching. I'm a person of faith. I'm angry that my faith is being hijacked by people promoting hatred, racism, Islamophobia, sexism, and on and on. My anger is righteous anger. But anger left unchecked turns into fear and hatred. So we need to turn our righteous anger into prayerful action. You cannot be a Christian and support separating children at the border. You cannot be a Christian and support racism. Pope Francis called for a bold cultural revolution, a revolution of spirit. It's awesome that we're all here today, but we need to go out and get 100,000 people here. We need to go up the road to the Capitol. We need to sit down in the offices of people like Lindsey Graham, and we need to sit there. And when they come and arrest us, then another group can sit down, and then another, and another, and another. That's what we need to be doing. So let us step forward, united as sisters and brothers, and build a nation that is truly for all and welcomes the poor, the marginalized, the strangers, as every faith tradition teaches us. Thank you, and blessings of peace and all good.
Blessings and peace to you, Brother Patrick. Thank you for your words. Allow me to welcome to the stage Imam Bukadoum from the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. Imam.
Good afternoon. So, my name is Iman Bukadoum, and I'm a senior staff attorney at the ADC. And let me tell you, I am Donald Trump's greatest nightmare. That's right. I'm a lawyer. I'm an immigrant. We were deported when I was a kid. And I am suing Donald Trump. And I'm standing here because we will not tolerate a fascist wall against our friends in Latin America, just like we're not going to tolerate this travel ban against Arabs and Muslims. It's the same thing. He did it to us first, and we will not let him do it again to our Latin American brothers and sisters. We are one. We are one immigrant community. We are one refugee community. And when they come for you, they come for me. And I will not stop until I keep suing him and he loses. And this Supreme Court will hear us. They will keep getting those lawsuits. stop resisting and building a better America. That's right. Now, on my way here, I met a man named Joaquin, and he is a refugee from Panama. And his story was exactly like the stories that we at ABC hear from Arabs all over the Middle East.
Yeah.
Syrians fleeing horrific war and being demonized here in this country and being targeted by ICE. He said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I know they're going to come and get me. And that's exactly what we hear from our Syrians and our Yemenis. And let me just tell you that I will not stop fighting, because you know what? That's what they want us to do. They want to wear us down because they keep on doing this. They keep on coming with these ridiculous fascist policies, and we will not stop. They don't know. They don't know the fire inside of us. And the Arab American community and the Muslim American community and the Latin American community and all of us, black, brown, red, yellow, whoever we are, will not stop. That's right. Because we are one. That's right. We are one community. And I just want to let you know that I will not stop, and all of my colleagues at ABC will not stop, because we believe in love, compassion, and peace. God bless.
Well, let's give it up for our sister Iman. Brothers and sisters, as we speak, there are still children in cages.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's why we're fighting today. That's why we're saying no to the deportation force, no to the wall, no to the fake emergency. And we want Congress to defund this deportation force. So when I say defund, you say, hey, defund, defund, defund. Let's make sure that Congress hears us. Defund, 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 defund. That's right, we will not stop until the deportation force is defunded. So now let's welcome Rob Weissman, President from Public Citizen.
It's good to be with you, brothers and sisters. This is a hard time. This is a challenging time. You know, Iman said, we can't get tired. I got to say, we're not going to get tired as long as she's leading us. On Friday, my organization, Public Citizen, sued Donald Trump to stop his racist wall. We represent 3 landowners up against the border in a Texas environmental group. One of those landowners and her family have lived on that property for more than 4 decades. She has never once seen a migrant cross across her land. She has seen border police hop her fence and come across her land. The wall would slice across her property and our other plaintiffs. You know what she says? She says there's no emergency here. But you know what? There is an emergency here. There is an emergency right over here. There is an emergency. There is an occupation. And in fact, as he said, there's even been an invasion of our White House by a president who is increasingly unhinged, whose racism knows no bounds, whose authoritarian tendencies threaten the republic and even the planet. The emergency is he will do anything. He will do anything. Does not care about our democracy, does not care about our Constitution, doesn't care about our brothers and sisters. He will do anything to advance his own narrow agenda, which is often about either re-election or making money for the Trump organization. So our country actually is under attack. Our democracy actually is under attack. Our communities are under attack. What do we do when our democracy is under attack? We stand up, fight back. What do we do? People of color under attack. Immigrants under attack. What do we do? Our democracy is under attack. What do we do? Let me tell you, we are being tested.
That's right.
We are being tested. Our courts will be tested by the lawsuit that we and others are going to file.
That's good.
Our Congress is going to be tested to see whether it will assert its constitutional authority or let Trump do whatever he chooses. Republicans in Congress who say they care about the Constitution and are worried about executive overreach and have said they oppose the emergency, they're going to be tested. But the biggest test and the most important test is for us.
That's right.
It's our country.
Yeah, that's right.
Either we stand up or this so-called national emergency declaration becomes the first of other national emergency declarations. Why not have a national emergency to deploy the military in urban communities around the country? Why not have a national emergency to round up so-called gang members? All of them people of color. Why not occupy cities and sweep up immigrants, even worse than is being done already under the guise of a national emergency? The president doesn't have any self-restraint. The challenge is whether we have the power to restrain him. Whether we turn out to restrain him. So the courts are being tested, the Congress is being tested, but the test that matters is for us and whether we turn out. That's why the tens of thousands of people turning out on a few days' notice to protest a fake national emergency, that is the most important thing we can do.
That's right.
The most important thing we can do to protect our democracy, because that democracy is under attack. What are we going to do? Our communities of color around the country are under attack. What are we going to do? Our immigrant brothers and sisters are under attack. What are we going to do? Our democracy's under attack. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Hold on. He's not here, you know. He's at Mar-a-Lago. You got to be louder if you wanted to communicate the message. A couple more times. Our democracy is under attack. What do we do? Communities of color are under attack. What do we do? Immigrant brothers and sisters are under attack. What do we do? Our country is under attack. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? That's right.
Rob Weisman, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Rob. And as a shout out to Iman, you know, I grew up as a child of hip hop, so she said, "Don't stop." So I say, "Don't stop, get it, get it."
That's right.
Iman and all of us out here fighting, don't stop, get it, get it. And Rob talked about tests. I'm also a yoga teacher. You're wondering what these beads are. These are my prayer beads. Tests build resilience. Tests build wisdom. Are we up to the test? I don't believe in anything y'all just said to me. Are we up for the test? One more time, are we up for the test? Thank you for that. Allow me to introduce to the stage my sister Erica Fain, Win Without War.
There we go. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Erica Fine. I'm the Advocacy Director at Win Without War. Thank you all so much for being here. It is amazing to be standing in solidarity with you. So this afternoon, I want to talk about the fact that this national emergency against the other has created conditions for tens of billions of dollars in extra defense spending, where Trump is getting to build his fake wall for his fake emergency. And secondly, for decades, we have propped up dictators in the name of U.S. interests, profits, stability, to maintain our hegemony. So while we are nominally a country of values that values human rights, we haven't applied that support for human rights across the board. And we have helped to create so many monsters abroad. Now that monster has come home. And in declaring this emergency, Trump has ripped a page right out of the authoritarian playbook. In this playbook, undemocratic heads of state regularly abuse emergency powers to repress their own citizens and consolidate their rule. And not only does this fake emergency attack our own democracy, it sends a signal to leaders around the world that we're not going to stand up against political repression anymore. So how are we going to fight back against authoritarianism at home and abroad? We must urgently join together in solidarity as we're doing today and across the country, tens of thousands of us, and demand that our elected representatives do everything in their power to curb this president's power grab. Woo! Congress must immediately pass legislation to end this fake emergency. We at Win Without War and hundreds of thousands of activists at Win Without War stand ready to challenge this growing threat to our democracy. And then also, we stand ready to make new policies that end our forever wars, that truly apply human rights across the board, and that welcome people who come here in search of safety and a better life. Thank you.
Let's give it up for our sister, Erica. Woo! Defund. You forgot about her check. Defund hate. 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 Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Donald Trump has got to go. Ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. All right, now with that energy, let's welcome Mary Small from Detention Watch Network and member of the Defund Hate Coalition. Woo!
Thank you for that, and thank you all for being here. Like Christina said, I'm from Detention Watch Network, a network and web of organizations and individuals all across the country fighting against the metastasizing growth, abusive conditions, and unaccountable systemic violence of immigration detention. Shame! 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 I bring you greetings from our rockstar members and co-conspirators all across the country who just blocked a proposal for a new immigration jail in Ionia, Michigan, being proposed by a private prison company, by which I mean deportation profiteer. I bring you greetings from our folks who are organizing to support hunger strikes inside detention, as people who are detained courageously and at mind-bending risk organize on the inside to call attention to ongoing and endemic rights abuses in El Paso, Texas, in Yuba County, California, in Etowah, Alabama, and more. As I hold both things, that horrifying detention and deportation machine, and as the people most directly impacted organize themselves on the deeply dangerous front lines, it feels right to stand here with you today. It feels right to bring this message. This national emergency declaration is unquestionably wrong, worrying, and democracy-damaging power grab by a man and an administration with a wide authoritarian streak and a relentlessly myopic focus on fear-mongering and scapegoating. It's not just that the wall is a monument to his vanity, it is a sign and signal of ascendant white nationalism. And its very foundation is built on our worst and most damaging impulses. But here's the thing, this tactic did not come from nowhere. This thing, spinning up fear to justify unilaterally seizing money from other parts of the government to do a thing they couldn't get permission to do the right way, this is taking a tactic that this administration tested and perfected inside of ICE, the immigration enforcement arm of the federal government, and it's taking it to scale. For 3 years, ICE has expanded immigration detention without having the money to pay for it, and then made up the difference by raiding other accounts, most famously, or rather infamously, by taking $10 million from FEMA last fall, right as we were headed into hurricane season. Shame! 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 We have to understand that this is Trump's MO, testing new tactics on the most vulnerable members of our society before going big. This is why Detention Watch is so proud to be part of the Defund Hate campaign. Because we saw it, we named it, we're fighting back, and we're going after their money. If we are serious about tracking and resisting threats to a functioning democracy, we must be tracking and resisting the administration's ongoing attacks against the most marginalized among us, because that is where the tactics show up first. It is both a deep and values-based belief in intersectional organizing, and it is also highly tactical, y'all. That's my North Carolina. Hello, y'all. Which is why I am so deeply disappointed and frankly outraged that Congress, in the funding bill they passed just last week, failed to prohibit this exact tactic, to prohibit ICE from expanding detention by raiding other accounts. In fact, even after knowing that Trump would declare a national emergency, Congress, including the new Democratic House, voted to expand immigration detention by 5,000 people every day. We deserve better, and we demand better from any member of Congress claiming to be progressive or claiming to stand with the immigrant community. To join us, Detention Watch Network's amazing members, partners like Move On and United We Dream, and so many more, go to defundhatenow.org. Detention Watch Network and the Defund Hate campaign will be in this, fighting this national emergency and winning its revocation. But let's dig deep, y'all. Let's find and feel the power that comes not just from digging in our heels and pushing back, but from sending down deep and intertwining roots, from interlocking our arms with the movements fighting these authoritarian tactics in the hidden corners where they're piloted and perfected in the first place. Let's know in our bones that fighting against the detention and deportation machine is fighting for the soul of our democracy. Let's remember that it's not just about the wall, but also about the bars of the detention facilities that stand in the shadow of the wall. So in addition to the no wall, no fear, immigrants are welcome here, no bars, no fear, immigrants are welcome here. No bars, no fear, immigrants are welcome here. No bars, no fear, immigrants are welcome here. No bars, no fear, immigrants are welcome here.
No bars, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. No bars. Immigrants are welcome here.
couldn't resist. I appreciate that. For those of you in the back, come closer. We're a family. Come closer. Don't be so distant. Come up. We need you. We need you. So, y'all clearly like chanting. I appreciate that. I'm a former civics teacher, current yoga teacher. I said that. So I have a question for you. Can you show me what democracy looks like? Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. Two more. Show me what democracy looks like. Make this your best. Show me what democracy looks like. That was so damn amazing. Thank you so much. We the people aren't going to take this anymore. And we may not get there now, but you got about 15 more months, sir. We are coming for your job with a smile. I'd like to welcome Adeline Height from WOLA. Come share with us.
Hi, everyone. I'm here representing WOLA. We are so proud to stand in solidarity with everyone here today and with immigrant communities across the country. And I'm here once again to remind you there is no national emergency at our border. We know that this declaration is a sham, but more, it is a dangerous abuse of authority. President Trump tried to silence our members of Congress. He tried to silence us. But I have a question. Since when have we stayed silent under this administration? Never. Trump is lying about this so-called emergency. He would hate for you to know that migration at our southern border is at a 40-year low. And he is lying about who is coming to this country. 3 out of every 5 migrants approaching the border are children or parents with their children. I can't believe I have to say it. Children and families coming to our border, fleeing violence, searching for better lives, pose no threat to security in this country. So Trump decided that he would create a crisis. He started by banning Muslims, but that wasn't crisis enough. He continued by ending DACA and TPS, uprooting the lives of over 1 million hard-working families in this country. But that wasn't crisis enough. He then separated children from their families. He stomped on the right to asylum. Right now, as we speak, Central American families are being forced to wait in dangerous and overcrowded conditions in Tijuana. They have the legal right to request asylum. President Trump cannot deter our unwavering will to provide protection for those who need it. That is our commitment as human beings on this planet. It is written in our national and international laws, and we will fight to uphold them. Congress must reject this declaration of emergency. Courageous people, some of whom have been on this stage, from coast to coast will sue this administration again, and not one of us will back down from this fight. We can do so much better. We need resources for humane, community-based case management programs. We need access to legal services for every immigrant family in this country. We need to stop detaining families now. We need to embrace and uplift our immigrant communities just as they lift up this country. And we need an asylum system that is based on our values and our laws, not one based on lies and fear. We need to reject this fake national emergency. Mr. President, it is time for you to start obeying the law. Thank you.
That'll be nice, don't you think? stage Robert Mago, the Director of Government Affairs from the Council of American Islamic Relations.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, greeting of peace. Trump is using the same fake discriminatory legal justifications that he used to justify the Muslim ban to now separate families and declare this fake emergency declaration. All immigrant communities and families are possible targets under the Trump administration for being barred or restricted from entering the United States or separated at the border once inside. Whether it's the Muslim ban, the border wall, family separations at the border, or the historically low refugee cap, the Trump administration is using every means at its disposal to block the entry of those, like Donald Trump's own ancestors, seek a better life in our nation. CARE condemns President Trump's fake emergency declaration to construct this border wall. His primary motivation is motivated by anti-immigrant ideologies, and they're designed only to make America more white. Congress must act now and challenge this declaration for what it is, a needless abuse of executive authority. Refugee, asylum seekers, unaccompanied children, undocumented immigrants seeking to work or be reunited with their families do not constitute a national emergency. There is no invasion, only the manufactured rhetoric of a racist president who failed to get what he wanted. Let's continue to fight together. Please join me in this chant. No ban, no walls, no raids. 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 Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you to everyone. We want to thank y'all for being here. We're near the end of the program. Thank you for your resilience and your stamina.
Thank you.
Round of applause for you.
And for you.
Right? And we live in, unfortunately, for better or for worse, we live in a social media culture, right? So people on stage left, I'm gonna take this selfie with you. You ready? That's y'all. You ready? All right. Let's get ready.
Okay.
All right.
Front row here.
Come on, y'all. Smile for me.
Okay, front row.
Word. All right.
Okay.
I'll get y'all on the right the next time. Promise. So for our final speaker, before Christina and I close us out, I'd like to welcome Charanya Krishnaswamy from Amnesty International.
Hi, everybody. What a beautiful day to gather together and stand strong against hate and exclusion. Y'all are proof that bridges are better than walls, that love trumps hate, that no human being is illegal, and that we are all, by virtue of our shared condition, guaranteed to the same human rights. I'm the America's Advocacy Director at Amnesty International. At Amnesty, we work to protect those human rights to which we are all guaranteed, including the right to seek asylum and safety. Today I want to tell you about the story of Valkyria. Her story exemplifies the pain and suffering this administration is causing to people coming here in search of safety. Valkyria and her 7-year-old child, Abel, braved a dangerous journey to the United States in March 2018 after Valkyria got death threats from drug traffickers. At the border, Valkyria was forcibly separated from her son, even though she had the documentation proving that Abel was her child. ICE then jailed her in a prison-like facility in El Paso, even though she and her child were here in search of protection. 11 months later, she remains locked up in a jail, even though an asylum officer has already said that her claim is credible. When Amnesty talks to Valkyria, she cannot speak without breaking down into tears as she recalls how our government separated her from her child. 7-year-old Abel still stares blankly at the door each day, asking where his mother is, waiting for her to come home. At Amnesty, we've concluded that the treatment Valkyria has faced at the hands of the U.S. government amounts to torture. I wish Valkyria's story were unique, but it's not. Over 40,000 people, many of them asylum seekers, are detained in this country every single day. And just last week, Congress has authorized this administration to detain more people than ever before. Congress gave in on detention because the supposed compromise was that Trump wouldn't get his border wall funding. And now, by declaring a national emergency, Trump has found a way to give himself that funding anyway. Make no mistake, the only national emergency taking place right now is that this administration is violating the human rights of refugees at our border. It's pushing back people fleeing danger when they try to approach at U.S. ports of entry to seek asylum. Then it's constructing a wall so that people turned away at those ports of entry can't cross elsewhere. For those lucky few who do make it through, it's detaining them, causing mental anguish amounting to torture in the process. At every turn, it is subverting the institution of asylum as we know it. Are we going to stand by and let this president push back asylum seekers? Are we going to stand by and let this administration spend billions of dollars building a symbol of hate? Are we going to stand by and let this government profit off of the misery of asylum seekers who languish in detention, all because they dared seek protection in our country? I ask you, friends, to call on our government to stand up for refugees. At our website, amnestyusa.org, you can sign a petition to your member of Congress to reject increased detention and border wall funding. And you can sign our petition to ICE demanding Valkyria's freedom. I know we've heard this chant a lot, but let's close it out one more time. No ban, no wall. Immigrants are welcome here. No ban, no wall. Immigrants are welcome here. No ban, no wall. Immigrants are welcome here.
Thank you very much. So we have reached the end of our program. Again, give yourself a round of applause. I want to thank you to all of our amazing speakers. For the members of the media, if you want a speakers list, we've got it. So just come up and ask us. And thank you all you who came out here today. Thank God for great weather. The last protest we planned on the 29th of January, it snowed. So we're actually happy that didn't happen, but we're happy that you're here today. And we want to thank the other over 250 events across the country, and all those who are tuning in online. This moment and this movement was not possible without your passion. Thank you to the volunteers and all of our vendors. Thank you for that. If there's nothing else you remember from this event, this is a fake emergency. This is a trumped-up crisis, pun intended. We have one warming planet. We have veteran suicides. We have all these other emergencies, but the southern border is not one of them. If we have an emergency, there's a lack of compassion by the occupant of the White House. And let's not just call out Donald Trump. It's Mr. Pence. It's Stephen Miller. It's all these people who believe in white supremacy and not in solidarity, and we won't stand for them. So as we close, in keeping with my Baptist roots, I'm going to take y'all to church if you don't mind. I want to share a story that gives me particular comfort in this moment. How many of y'all know about the story about Joshua and the Battle of Jericho? If you do, don't spoil it for those who don't, right? So according to the story, Joshua led his tribe, and he was told, he was very scared, and he was told, be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. God is with you wherever you go. I want to extend that metaphor like we are with each other wherever we go. We need to be strong and courageous. And so Joshua stood on his faith, and his tribe circled the city of Jericho for 6 days and nights. The priests held the Ark of the Covenant, and they played trumpets, but the soldiers were quiet. Can you imagine being a soldier and like giving out rally cries and being told to be quiet for 6 days while circling your enemy? Think of the discipline, think of the focus, think of the faith, think of the strength. So if we extend that metaphor a bit further, in those 6 days, those people strategized, they organized, they marched, they petitioned, they took action, but they kept silent until the right moment. But on that 7th day, as the story is told, the priests made their rounds around the walls of the city of Jericho, and Joshua instructed them to scream. And when they screamed, what happened? When they screamed, what happened? One more time. When they screamed, what happened? The walls came down. We're not going to stand for this racist wall. We're not going to stand for this racist president. We will never support this agenda. We will fight the president and his policies. We will stand together, we will organize, and we will remain ready to rumble. We are on the right side of history, and we will remain victorious. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce Christina to close us with United We Dream.
And can you say if people want a photo in front of the White House to come?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So as we're closing, just want us to remember we are here for all of our brothers and sisters that have been targeted by the deportation force. Those thousands of immigrants that are in detention. Jacqueline, who was 7 years old when she died in the hands of the deportation force. And more than 20 immigrants that have died in detention camps. But I have hope even in the midst of those very painful things that we know about the realities that we live in today. Because we came together today, and look at us, over 30,000 people in more than